Katrina created litigation that resulted in some rulings that combined flood damage and wind damage, where the insurance companies thought they covered wind only. Is this type of government interference a random fluctuation in insurance or a major cause of concern for the future?
Well, that's an easy one to understand both sides of the question on. I mean, the average homeowner is not going to sit there and as an insurance policy, and a lot of times the agent is not going to explain it carefully to him. So when something comes along and he thinks it's insured and it turns out that he bought a policy where it wasn't insured, he's going to feel very unhappy about it. And when tens of thousands of people feel unhappy about it, you're very likely to get some kind of governmental interference and probably an inflation by judicial decree or by threats of the government to, in effect, extend the terms of the policy beyond what the insurance company thought it was insuring. Now, an insurance company that's had that kind of experience is going to be very reluctant to write insurance policies in the future if they don't think that the words will be adhered to. And on the other hand, I can fully understand some guy who's had his house blown away in a storm and a lot of it was water damage and a lot of it was wind damage, thinking that, that he's been wiped out, and the insurance company comes around waving a policy that's got a lot of small print in it, he's going to be unhappy. So it's a real tussle on that. And, I guess I would, if I were writing policies, I would put the exclusions in very big type and very easy to understand. But I still would expect that if thousands of people suffered losses, that courts and legislators would probably seek to stretch the terms or even abrogate the terms of the contract in order to take care of their own constituents, and figure that guys like me or institutional investors who own insurance companies can afford it better than the homeowner. When you get into the question of whether you should, in effect, have all of the people in the country pay premiums for, we'll say, hurricanes, in a way subsidize it through policies in Nebraska or Minnesota or someplace for hurricanes in Florida, that gets very tough. I mean, it can be very expensive to insure against hurricanes if hurricanes become more frequent and more intense. In fact, it can become so expensive that people really will not want to bear the cost of insurance, and they'll want to socialize it some way. And of course, the guy in Nebraska says, look, you went down there to live on the ocean, and you thought it was wonderful, and we're back here with these terrible winters, but why should we pay a portion of your insurance? So you're going to have that tussle go on, and you'll really have that tussle go on if you get a $100 billion or $150 billion insured loss in Florida, because that will mean a huge change in taxation if the state of Florida steps in to compensate people. There'll be calls for Washington to pay for it, but it's how much people who are not exposed to a risk should pay for the people who have elected to be exposed to the risk is, it becomes a political question. And my guess is that sometime in the next 5 or 10 years, you'll see a struggle on that subject that far exceeds what we saw on Katrina.